It should be a no-brainer, really. The character Iron Man was made to be in a video game. All the conceptual work is already there and screams of gameplay potential. So what happened? Is there a special farm of video game-hating retarded monkeys that developers have to recruit from every time they're asked to work on a movie tie-in? The first thing you notice is the embarrassingly poor graphics. This is standard clunky movie tie-in fare, where scenery is blocky, indestructible and unlived in, and characters look like they've had photos of their faces taken and stuck on backwards-facing crash test dummies. The whole thing is also pretty damn jittery. However, it has to be said that your third-person view of Iron Man himself, particularly in his Mach 2 and above suit, has been really nicely animated, both in combat and flight, so kudos there. So how about the Iron Man suit? Well, there are some really nice touches, such as being able to reroute power to boost either life support, weapons, melee or thrusters, and you can spend money on upgrades as you go along too. The movement is a bit twitchy and pretty fast, so control can take some getting used to, particularly in flight. Flight has good and bad points. It's tricky, but after a bit of practice is quite fun, and you have a decent variety of movement, being able to hover and ascend in a standing position, fly and use the afterburners to dodge and manoeuvre, both in the air and on the ground. Now, the main issue I have with the controls is that they haven't been assigned very instinctively. Now, flight is all done with the left hand, so if you're just flying, it feels very one-sided. It's also much harder to have precise control of the left thumbstick if you have to hold down the left bumper or trigger at the same time to give yourself power. And using the right thumbstick to look can pull you off course really easily. Similarly with the weapons, you'll have to aim with the right and then press one of the face buttons. Now, other games do this too, you just notice it more with this one. There is a nice array of weapons though, each giving you a different balance between power and immediacy of response. And of course you'll kick ass in melee as well. But it all feels a little light, and a greater amount of rumble would have perhaps made the insane amount of damage that you do feel as if it was actually coming from you. There are other manoeuvres, such as catching missiles, which feel very random, and hitboxes are also quite generous, which is good in that it helps keep combat nice and fast, even though you have hundreds of enemies, but also adds to that feeling of unreality of the experience, so you're just going through the motions of killing people and blowing things up without thinking about it, which is kind of the antithesis of the whole emotional and moral core of the film. And I think that is the core problem with this game. The mechanics are far from superb, which is disappointing given the potential of the suit, but the main flaw is removing all the heart. The plot has been watered down to a series of run-and-gun action sequences, and the witty dialogue of the film to a bunch of mildly sarcastic one-liners. It's very difficult to actually care about what happens here. There are a bunch of other little niggles that just make you feel like not very much thought has gone into this game. The missions don't have checkpoints, and the jump in difficulty between the initial and final wave of each mission is quite big, so you'll often find yourself caught out right at the end. When you do finish a mission, you'll know this by running headfirst into a cutscene, not by feeling like you've finished or achieved something. So in conclusion, it can be fun to play around with the suit, although it ultimately never lives up to its potential. But overall, the game lacks any substance and is a fairly frustrating experience. If you have to play it, rent it rather than buy. I'd give it 2 stars.